go.
Trying to read all Mr. Zimmer read, and it's pretty long. He's opposed, that's all I need to know. Okay, we'll bring the regular May meeting of the Conway Planning Commission to order. We good? Okay. First and foremost, the Conway Planning Commission makes recommendations to the City Council on public hearing items. The City Council will make a final decision on these items using the Planning Commission recommendations as a guide. Items not approved by the Planning Commission may be appealed to the City Council within 30 days after Planning Commission denial. If an item is appealed to the City Council, a public notice sign will be placed on the property at least 7 days prior to the City Council meeting. A public notice will be placed on the city's website at cityofconway.org. Items reviewed at tonight's Planning Commission meeting may be considered by the City Council as early as May 23rd. I believe that's the next meeting. Decisions made by the Planning Commission acting as the Board of Zoning Adjustment are final, and no appeal may be made to the City Council. Any aggrieved party may pursue litigation should they feel the decision is unfair. So first on the agenda are the April meeting minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review those? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
From Jerry, second from Wendy. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion it carries. Never know what to call that. Okay. All right, so the first part of the meeting tonight, the public hearings portions are Board of Zoning adjustment for the Skeeto request for zoning variance to allow reduced building setbacks. Ms. Skeeto, would you like to speak?
So my husband and I were building an office building out on McNutt Road, where it goes up to where Donnell Ridge
I'm
used to
sorry,
run through
Ms.
there.
Skeeto, can you state your name and your
Sorry,
address?
my
I'm so
name's
sorry.
Beth Skeeto, 57 Timber Lane Trail, Conway. And because we also own the parcel to the south, which is the R1 parcel, and because of the ridge and the way it comes down in the drainage, there is a shale ridge that runs through there, and our builder has told us to try to keep the building on that ridge as much as possible for drainage and things of that nature, and that puts us about 10 to 12 feet too close to the line, because I think we have to have a 20-foot setback off of that R1 line. So we're just asking for a zoning variance to have a reduced building setback on that line, and since we own that property, we don't mind. That's it.
Okay. Is there anybody else to speak in favor of this request? Is there anybody to speak in opposition of this request? Seeing none, we'll bring this back into committee. And this is a Board of Zoning adjustment, so this will be final. What do you think? Anybody?
Even if they didn't own the R1 property to the south, I still don't see it as a huge inconvenience or a huge separation from the use of the property. And there's I-1 to the north, so I don't see anything wrong with this request.
Mosquito, are y'all building on this R1? You're building a home, aren't you? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second.
Okay, Brian makes a motion to approve, and Justin seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous. Okay, the next item on the agenda is Jack's Ultra Sports request to amend the conditional use permit 1366. The applicant is seeking a conditional use permit to amend conditions 2 and 3, limiting business hours and the ability to have outside activities. Currently, the business hours must conclude by 9 p.m. each day and must conclude of operation limited to 10 p.m.?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Sunday through Thursday, no limit on Friday and Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And the permit also states that no activities can be outside the facility. Who is here to speak in favor of this request? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, there are rules. The first person to speak in favor of a request gets 10 minutes. All subsequent speakers get 2. Anybody to speak, same thing if you're speaking in opposition.
Okay.
Okay? We good? Go ahead.
My
If
name-
you'll state your name and address, not phone number.
Sure. My name's Andy Hill. I live at 1711 Jennifer Circle in Conway, and I'm representing Jack's Ultra Sports. I think what we're asking for is just to have the restriction on our hours removed so that we don't have to close at 9 o'clock, and then to have the activities outdoors on the part of the property. I've drawn a thing on the map here, if I could bring this forward to you guys. We have an area to the side of the building that we could use for anything, essentially, that wouldn't mess with anybody else. And it's not even close to the road.
What are you kind of thinking you might want to do? Just curious.
We've been waiting to determine if this goes through, but bounce house, go-kart track, putt-putt golf, just another activity because we have indoor paintball, laser tag, arcades, an escape room now. And so we just want to add another outside activity.
Okay.
Why the increase in hours? Are you noticing additional
Sure.
folks showing up?
Friday and Saturday nights, both, you guys know if you ride around Conway, all the restaurants are full at 8 o'clock. So by the time people get home, get their kids, and you guys want to come out at 9, we have to close, and so it's not late enough. Aside from church groups, one-time-a-year events, New Year's Eve, we want to be open till midnight, something like that. We would like to have that restriction removed.
Well, and if I recall right, when he first brought this, he put those restrictions on there because it was new to that area. we
And
were
it's, yeah, it was a heavy industrial area. We were worried about the truck traffic.
We were concerned about how it would fit in that area, but.
Yeah.
Is this gonna be walled off, fenced off from,
We would create a barrier around it, for
so
sure.
they would only access it from inside the building?
Right, they would essentially have to come inside, check in, and then there would be an exit leading out to that area.
Okay.
Okay.
What issues have you had there currently with your current hours of operations? Have there been any complaints, any,
Zero issues,
Mischief, so to speak.
zero loitering, zero police calls, no issues whatsoever. We've been open since August, so going on 10 or 11 months now.
How many people do you have to run out of there at 9 o'clock?
We've ran college nights before where that crowd's a little later, so we're not running them out. It's that people that are respectable see that your business closes at 9, because that's what we advertise everywhere, and we're big on advertising. So if it says we close at 9, and they go, oh, it's 8:15, we're not gonna have time to go.
Yeah.
And so if we could advertise, hey, we're open till 10 or 11 or something, that would give them the opportunity to come out.
Does anybody have any further questions? Okay. Go ahead and have a seat, and we'll
Thanks.
finish the public part of this. Is there anybody else to speak in favor of this request? Is there anybody to speak in opposition of this request? Nope. Okay. We'll bring it back.
Brian, I assume that we had to like notify the neighbors around, the people that had a problem with this in the past, and
There's nothing anybody within 200 feet, and you have property owner within 200 feet.
I remember we had a couple of people that were worried about noise and that sort of stuff, so I just
One
making
guy
sure
was
that,
worried about the parking.
parking,
Yeah.
yeah,
I believe his business owner right next door, so he,
and
Yeah.
he
Was
didn't,
notified.
he's not worried about it this time.
and add to it too, I mean, I can't speak for the planning department, but I've heard we get phone calls when there's problems usually.
Sure.
Got any phone calls on this that I'm aware of.
Yeah. So I'm gonna throw this out here, and I don't know at the moment. I'm not sure about not limiting the hours, so I just don't want it to be a
That's what I was gonna ask Mr. Butler.
3 a.m.
So are you saying
and there's still parties
Yeah,
going
there's just gonna
on.
be a limit.
instead of opening
Just
something
carte
like
blanche,
that?
yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure,
So can I?
but that would also limit,
Are you asking for?
24/7, I think.
No.
We don't want to be there past 2 a.m. at the latest, and we won't be 99% of the time. But we don't want to be restricted at the same time to have one event a year, 2 events a year, like lock-ins or church groups, because we've been asked to do that.
Yeah.
Would be a good place to do lock-in too.
So are you concerned, like with the hours extending, you'll attract definitely probably a different set of, I guess, people. So
Yes.
are you concerned about the parking at all? I think that was what we were talking about last time. You know, if you find a place that's open, they're gonna come. So how do you,
Being open longer actually allows us to spread out the amount of
More?
people that we have,
Okay.
so there would be a less of a rush of
Congested area?
parking, and we have plenty of parking now.
okay, okay.
But I'm still not sure that it wouldn't increase loitering.
And that's my question.
All the
Have you
bad
had any
effects.
police issues because you've been closing at 9 o'clock, right? And so when you increase those hours, do you not think that intrinsically you'll have more of a night-ish crowd that could bring issues?
We don't, as of now, we don't attract that crowd anyway. Whether it's because we close at 9, I can't say. Most of the people that have been out to our place, we don't have I wouldn't consider that to be the loitering crowd of people. Plus, we could tell them to leave, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And y'all are mostly dealing with like teens. I mean, I'm thinking like
Younger kids.
like
Kids that can drive
13 and,
themselves.
yeah, kids that can't drive really, like their parents are dropping them off and picking them up kind of a thing.
Most of those kids are gonna have to be home by midnight anyway due to
Yeah.
curfew.
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean, teenagers,
Except
the
for
curfew's 12
lock-ins.
o'clock, so.
yeah.
Unless we do a lock-in. So if there had to be a restriction on it,
But you're not really, is that considered open?
we turn the
You're
sign
doing a
off.
lock-in?
and
I mean,
Is that-
You would still have
You're
people
not
there.
open
Yeah.
to the public?
I wouldn't, I don't really have a problem with that, but I'm not the law, I'm not the
Well, I'm
policeman
not
or
either.
something, but I wouldn't
Is that
think there'd be
considered
any
open?
problems with that, but
If you're locking the doors at midnight,
Planning commission said like regular business hours from X to X, and that would be considered,
us,
like you say, they're not open, so it's not open to the public business hours.
yeah.
I mean,
Like private
you're not
party.
It's
open
a
to the
private
public.
party
Private
kind of a
party type
deal.
hours.
Locked a bunch
I
of
wouldn't
people
have,
in.
I wouldn't think anybody would have a problem with that if you let them out at the time you normally would open, you know? All right, you
or
can't
even
leave until
earlier, I mean, even if you let
8
them out at
a.m.,
7 AM,
but here you are.
Yeah.
'Cause we-
Yeah, it's definitely not the lock-in that I would have an issue with.
No, or
by
New
any
Year's
stretch of the
Eve
minute.
staying open till, I would think that, midnight would be a decent number. This place is abandoned. They haven't had any issues. I don't see a problem with it. It
I don't see
serves a
problem
lot
with
of,
midnight. I
mean,
have a little bit
I'm
of a
not
problem
picturing
with it
college
2 a.m.
kids out there partying. That's just not what I'm picturing. They don't serve liquor, don't have any of that sort of stuff. This is, it's just a different crowd than what y'all are picturing, that's gonna be out at a
Well-
bar at night. It's just not it,
And they've been there for a year without
without
That
incident.
incident.
Yeah, right, so.
And nobody that was opposed to it before or was worried about any of those things had any problems to show up. I mean, I think you gotta let a guy try to make some money, and I know with my teenagers at the house, I mean, they eat dinner at 8 o'clock and then they're going over to a friend's house to do something. I think there is a lot of use for after-hours stuff for those teenagers, especially in the summer, so.
So is it 7 days a week you're wanting to just lift it and not have the difference in the weekday and weekend
our hours now are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and Friday and Saturday nights are the 2 hours
that you're asking to
that
be
we're
extended?
at, that I feel like now, immediately, as soon as we can, especially with summer coming, that we need to be open later. To add to that, there aren't really any other things to do for that age group of kids in Conway that are open past 10. So it may not be
I
midnight,
agree
and
with
I don't
that.
wanna be there till midnight as the manager, right? But till 10 or 11 for sure, but then on sometimes we wanna be open a little bit later as well.
Yeah, 11 o'clock during the week and midnight on the weekends, I would think, and, I think if you do something special occasion like a lock-in, I don't think that's gonna be an issue, but,
I don't see it as an issue, but, he's talking about New Year's Eve.
And that's gonna
Private
fall.
party.
We can't
type.
control what day that falls on.
Yeah, exactly.
Friday, Saturday, and New Year's Eve. All right, so I'll make a motion that, they can extend their hours to 11 o'clock during the week and midnight on the weekends.
A second.
And then what about private parties, like
And
lock-ins
that
and?
they're allowed to use that outside space as long as it's only really in and out through the building, really, except for like an emergency exit or whatever you gotta have, but, You know, so there's not loitering in the parking lot. They gotta come in, pay, and then they get to use that.
Okay, so how do we want to word this? We want to restrict the conditional, oh, I'm sorry, let's,
Beth will clean that up for us.
let's see. So extend hours. 11 weekdays. And 12 weekends.
And then number 3 on there, outside activities allowed, no closer to the street than the front building facade.
Okay. So we're striking all activities must be contained inside the facility.
Right.
And leaving outside activities allowed no closer to the street.
Right.
Or adding that, okay.
Yeah, condition 1 still applies.
Okay.
It's limited to y'all
And
Yeah.
for now.
all outside areas are enclosed with inside.
Does that
access.
resolve all of your issues? Because what I would hate is for you guys to have to come back next year and say,
Right.
okay, but for real, for a third time, can we get the dang hours we want?
Like I said, we don't want to be there after midnight and 50 weeks out of the year, 50 weekends out of the year, we're
Yeah.
going to close at 11 on Friday and 11 on Saturday. So as far as I'm concerned,
That covers it.
I'm sorry, I'm Curtis Butler.
Oh, okay.
You know, I think what we're trying to do here is
Why don't you
to-
come on up?
Come on
So we can all hear
down.
you.
You're the next contestant on The Price is Right.
I think what we're trying to do here really is to have the freedom to serve the public when it's time to serve the public. If New Year's, like you were kind of heading that way, and it made me think, okay, if New Year's falls on a Wednesday, then the restrictions have us not, again, not allowing us to just be available to the community. And so we're really just trying to, to run our business where it accommodates the people in the proper manner.
What if we
And-
just made the hours till midnight?
Or like, with the exception of private parties, so he can do like church functions. Because I mean, it'd be a great thing for teens, especially if they're getting into
They
church
do lock
functions
out.
and lock-ins. And can we include the New Year's Eve under like a private party type event?
I think New Year's Eve, the police are gonna have plenty to do, and they're not gonna be worried about your teenagers, but, I mean, if y'all wanna change it to
Weekends
just
and
flat out
holidays.
midnight, that's fine with me, and that way, if it's New Year's,
Not
is-
for weekends and holidays?
Yeah.
That
mean, it
would
does-
So you just want to do midnight all the time?
It doesn't matter.
I
And
really
1
don't
o'clock
care.
weekends and holidays, or? I mean, I'm asking. Y'all are making the
I
motion.
just like to say
you
that
have to
with the
revise
exception
it.
of private parties, though, I mean, because those church lock-ins they always need places to go, and that'd be a
Yeah.
great place.
mean,
And
I
I don't
think
know
if
how we
it's-
would do
I
that.
think if it's, I don't think we have to worry about the private parties personally. I mean, I think if it's closed and the building,
yeah. if the
it's not
building's
open,
closed.
what they do inside
That's the way
there-
I interpret it. It's not open to the public, and you've
That's
just
a-
got a bunch of people locked in
that's-
there. That's your business. If you want them in there, I mean,
Right.
So I'll amend mine to just midnight,
across the board.
Monday through Friday,
Mon-
or Monday through,
Sunday.
7 days a week, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the motion is to,
Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Butler. Extend the hours to 12 o'clock all the time. All outside areas are enclosed with inside access only. Is that correct, Brian? Is that what you're proposing?
Yes.
And, you want to second that? The way it is? Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, it carries unanimously. So, go make money.
Good luck.
Good luck, guys. One of the escapes are the other one is
Okay.
down a side street.
The next item on the agenda is the, how do you say this, Reimer? Ramier? Reimer? Okay. Request to amend conditional use permit number 1223. The applicant is seeking conditional use permit to amend condition 5, limiting permit to existing applicant and business. So, yeah, your name and address, please. I'm sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen of the commission, my name is George Raymer, and we're talking about 523 Locust Street here in Conway. We've owned and operated a day spa out of this facility for over 12 years now. There's plenty of parking to the front. There's 3 spots in front, and there's up to 6 to 8 in the back of this building. We're looking at moving out of town. My business is in Florida, and we recently got married. And so this will allow us to expand our horizon as far as tenants for rental, or if we do decide to sell the building as well. We've had a lot of offers from other day spas here in town that are interested in it on the guys that this item would be removed and allow them free and access open to have a day spa in this area.
Okay, is there anybody else to speak in favor?
I mean, I can't, I run it.
You're
I mean,
welcome.
If you need anything more from me, the
Okay.
conditional use permit is actually on me. And what I would like to see happen is it be put on the actual building instead of on me, because once we move, if somebody else wants to go in and run a salon, they can't unless they come and get a conditional use on themselves. Well, if the tenant doesn't work and another salon wants to come in, we're back to square one. And traveling back and forth from Florida to be able to rent out a building
I
each
understand.
time is a little difficult.
So y'all are gonna retain ownership, you're wanting to basically,
Right now, I'm looking at retaining ownership. Now, I'm not gonna swear that's what's gonna happen.
Right.
But right now, I am looking at retaining
Okay.
ownership.
But the use will not change. It'll remain a day spa, which is
Well,
what,
that's
that's the
what
tenant
they're
that you're trying to
asking.
attract.
They're not.
It
they're not
could be a
asking.
lawyer's
Okay.
office, it could be,
Okay, I got you,
but
I got you.
the main people that are interested now is day spas.
Okay,
Yeah, and it's set up for a salon, so.
set up for a salon. Okay.
Okay, is there anybody to speak in opposition to this request?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, seeing none, we'll bring it back in to the commission. When this was done, they're asking that this be taken off the business. It can be anything. And always when we do a conditional use, we confine it to that business so that we have some kind of control over what goes in there. So what's your pleasure?
Although I think that, I mean, this facility's been operating there in that capacity for almost 12 years at this point. The landscape around that neighborhood has changed significantly over the past 12 years. I don't necessarily see that it's an issue, because I think it fits
Business,
in, yeah, the business fits in well in the area.
Still
I agree.
So, yeah, I have no
Still
problem. with
03,
it.
and it'll still have the, no external sound system, no.
Yep.
Everything will be the same except for,
conditional use is only applicable to this structure,
right,
Yep.
instead of being attached to the
well,
person.
to this applicant business and structure.
Well, my only question is, you change what business goes in there.
Well, so the underlying
We don't-
structure is 03, so it could,
Change.
Lawyer.
It could be anything, it could be a tattoo parlor.
no, tattoo parlor's its own, we learned this.
It was rhetorical.
Okay. Just saying, Jared, come on now. So there, I
mean-
mean, there's still limits to,
I mean, it could be something worse than a,
What's the worst thing you can have in an 03?
This is a tiny lot.
So basically, you can have an office there, and what they did is got the conditional use permit to allow them to have a
Spa.
barber,
spa.
like barber shop, because it doesn't really get into day spa, I didn't anticipate that in the 1960s. Barber shop, beauty salon, that kind of thing, which we say is the same thing as a day spa operation. But so right now, they're pretty much good for office. I have to go through the laundry list, but I mean, office is pretty much going out of office. I think O3 you can actually revert it back to a home if you want to go there.
Okay.
But then there's things you can do beyond the conditional use permit. But right now, the only conditional use permit we're dealing with is day spa. It's not, I don't think tattoo parlor would, but it's not for, like a clothes store if it happened in O3 with a conditional use permit. It's not for a camera shop or that. You got
It's
office
for a
or
day
you
spa,
got
yeah.
day spa at this point.
And I believe it's, because of the way that it's currently zoned with the 03, there is still a restriction on the hours of operation too. So a tattoo parlor those hours wouldn't fit into the hours of operation. And, you know, some of your other
So mad about
non
tattoos anyway.
beautification type businesses wouldn't fit into
They are
the
some
hours
good
of
people.
operation either.
Yeah,
so.
that was out of line. I was,
Well, no, I was just saying that it's still under that guise of the hour.
it's, I was really just, you know, going to something other than, a,
We used to
day
bring up
spa.
Cupid's Lingerie, but
Yes.
Well, even then, they would want to be open a lot
But to
longer
Brian's
than the hour.
point, if the conditional use is only restricted to a day spa, and then anything else that went in there besides a day spa was just whatever fit in at O3s, then, you know, it's a lot,
If they wanna put in
it's a lot
tattoos,
easier to
I
make
just
this
don't think it's in
decision
the area, but
because,
if they want to, idiot, they want to put one next to the police station.
okay, so do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as written in our little sheet here.
I'll second.
so the other question, I have is, do you want to give it, leave it on the building in perpetuity or just till she sells it?
Yeah, it goes with the
Conditional
building.
use.
Don't ask
goes with the
me, I'm
building.
not making the motion.
Just the way it reads, conditional use is only applicable to this structure. Bam.
All right, fair enough.
So it goes with the building.
You have a motion and a second, right?
All right, we have a motion by Brian and a second by Delencia. How do you, I mean, you know what I'm saying, vote.
All
All
those
those
in favor?
in favor, yeah. Y'all
Aye.
recognize that? Any opposed? All right, it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your recent marriage. Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda is the Rush House Properties request to rezone from A1 to R1. Property located west of Campbell Cove PUD. Mr. Crafton.
Hello, I'm Hal Crafton, 5460 Lost Canyon Drive, and I'm representing Rush Howe Development. When we went through Campbell Cove PUD, some of the neighbors had concerns of what might happen in the future, and I gave them my word that I'd come in the next few months and just zone the rest of the property R1, where they wouldn't have to worry about multifamily or what could come in a PUD. So that's what we're doing. We feel like this is appropriate zoning, so.
Okay, is there anybody else to speak in favor? Any opposition? Come to the podium, please.
Come on.
Your name and address?
My name is Ann Madison Howard. I live at 3411 Dave Ward Drive, and I just saw the sign. It's right next to my property. You have Central Baptist, and then you have the zoning, the sign that I saw, and then there's my house.
Okay.
I just want to know what is going to happen to that particular land. I've always been told it's 60 feet, and I'm not sure.
Well, ma'am, he's asking for it to be rezoned for R1, which is residential. And the city has certain guidelines for any lots that are done for setbacks and that sort of thing.
But 60
So-
feet, you can't do anything with 60 feet unless you build a road. Is that what you, okay.
We'll let Mr. Crafton answer your question then.
I think what she's talking about is there's is it 60 feet or 50? 50 or 60 foot
This little,
that goes out,
Thing
and that's
out there?
gonna be, yeah, that'll be
That'll
another
be a street.
entrance, that'll be a roadway there by the church that'll connect into there, so, and I think that's gonna be required, so.
okay,
Oh, that egress across.
Yeah, it won't be a home or anything, it'll be a roadway.
this little section right here off of.
Right.
That's not by
That
CBC
answer
though,
your
right?
question?
Yeah, but
This
I
isn't
have
my
a
city, is it?
request.
Donald Ridge, London Road's out there by
By the church.
Big Nut.
Church.
Oh, the church, okay, that threw me off there.
Okay. Are, any other questions?
Well, I want to know because I have enough traffic north from CBC, from Central Baptist. And I want to know, is this going to be a back entrance or a front entrance, or I didn't even know what you were planning to do there, except I just thought it was a road.
Okay,
And if you build a road there, I am concerned about the amount of noise. I do have some of the, I own an acre there, and on the other side is Madison. So there's a fence halfway there. I wanna know if you put me up another fence. To cut down on the noise.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, but we're not here to discuss the development of this property at this
And we're
point.
not, we're
I
not,
might not see him again.
well,
Yeah, he's,
I'll give you my number.
I was fixing to say, I bet you I can
And
find
we're
him
just
for you.
rezoning, we don't have any plan, you know,
We don't have a
right.
site
She just doesn't
development or
understand that
anything.
this
It just-
isn't, that we're fixing to build anything. We're just getting the property zone where it could just be single-family homes instead of an apartment complex or anything.
But
So,
right now, it's just gonna be an empty field for a
Right,
while.
it's just a
still.
zone.
Well, it's a lot of trees there.
Well, yeah.
Right, but before we, develop it, you,
Will I know?
you and I'll know, I
Okay.
promise you.
You need to give me your card.
All right, I'm gonna bring this back into commission. Do we have any discussion?
That's good. I'll move that we rezone this to R1.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Jerry and a second by Wendy. Do we have a vote? Or let's vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? The motion carries unanimously. We'll make sure that you can get hold of Mr. Crafton.
Giving her his information.
There you
If
go.
you have any problems, you come back here. Okay, last on the agenda tonight is Salter Properties request to rezone from R1, RU1, MF1 to all to MF3 on a lot of different places. 2955 Dave Ward, 945 Salem Road, and 2902 Pheasant Road. Who is here to speak in favor?
Hi. I'm Brent Salter with Salter Properties, 201 Lee Andrew Lane. On Friday, I believe it was, I had sent out this. Do all of you have this in front of you? I've brought a few more that I think this really helps.
Is that the same one we have in our booklet?
No, it's,
No, it's not.
yeah.
It's updated. Doing a great job.
You can do the old take one, pass it down, we used to do back in school.
Thank you, Lynn. Yeah.
Oh, I see, okay.
And so I spoke with Brian at the end of last week about this development, and I'd been speaking with Wes Craiglow for a long time about this prior to today, whenever he was employed there at the planning department. And it became clear to me that my letter didn't describe well enough what it was that we were intending to do on the piece of property, as my conversation with Brian led me to believe. So I put this together just to be able to help give a picture of what we're trying to do. So you can see in the top left, there's the Brentwood Apartments noted in green. That's a complex of ours that my dad built in 2001. You can see there that there's 3 points of egress from Brentwood. What our intention is for this land that we're proposing to rezone, for it to actually connect to Brentwood, be the second phase of it. So if you see where it says connect to existing here, there's a dumpster there that we're going to relocate, and then we'll bring that drive south into this property.
Instead of having it off of Dave Ward.
Exactly. So those 3 points of egress will still remain, and then we will add additional ones here along Salem Road. So I wanted you guys to understand that this is just a second phase to the existing property that we already have.
How many units are in Brentwood?
79.
79, okay.
And so what we're also looking to do, and I'm sure you've seen the new apartment complexes that are in this town, we have no amenity at Brentwood. There's no clubhouse, there's no pool, there's no fitness center, there's no cafe, all of those things that today's tenant requires. And so by us getting this property rezoned, it'll allow us to put the clubhouse and the amenity area here on Salem Road. So you'll be able to enter from Salem Road and get all the way out to Donnell Ridge if you would like to. So that's the story. That's what we're trying to do here. As far as MF3 zoning, obviously it's in the report that a portion of this property is actually on the comprehensive plan to be multifamily. The only thing that doesn't really work with the comprehensive plan is that it's delineated north of the power lines, and that's not how the land lays out in the real world. So it is that piece of land, but just to where the actual property lines are today. Some of the other questions that have come up, I've noted this clubhouse and amenity area here along Salem Road. There would be no entrances into the property off of Pheasant. So they would all come off of Salem Road. I understand that there's some single-family homes there, but when you look at the transition as far as development goes from most impactful to least impactful, in general terms, you talk commercial, multifamily, residential. And so if you're coming from Dave Ward, that's clearly defined. If you're coming from Salem Road to go from multifamily to a less dense single family, and in my opinion, as the traffic on this road continues to grow with the 1,200 apartments that are 5 miles further outside of town, I actually think that that'll create a better buffer for those homeowners there. The other thing is that we'll obviously have to meet all the requirements of the city and the development review process. And there's some notes in the report to that, but obviously setbacks are required, landscape buffers are required, ensuring that your lighting doesn't bleed over into your neighbors. All of that stuff is governed by the planning department and will be figured out through the site plan process. So a couple of existing uses that I would like to point out is if you go due east of this property, you have MF3 zoning, and directly to the south, sharing a property line, is R1 single-family homes. The single-family homes were developed after the apartments were there. No problems. We have single-family homes that were developed to the south of Brentwood. No problems there. So,
Yeah, those single-family homes came after y'all's, Brentwood was
Exactly.
there, right?
well, actually, I wasn't here working on the project then, but Gene was, and he knows, he can tell you. So that, in a nutshell, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to add on to the existing property that we have. We're trying to build an amenity for the residents that already live there, and we're trying to use Salem Road, which obviously has seen, drastic changes over the last few years. So.
How many units are you looking at putting in total? I'm sure it's in here, but what is it?
So we're
It's not really a site plan yet, is it?
correct.
279?
So MF3 allows for 24 units per acre. MF2 allows 18 per acre.
Correct.
MF1 allows 12 per acre.
Correct. We have not even worked on a site plan yet. So different than the PUD process that I was in here for a couple months ago. That was a clear, I had to spend the money. This is what I'm doing. Today, I need to get the land use right before I can spend money. But I do know that the 2 utility easements that are there are,
Gonna cut down on that
it's going to make it
number.
tough. So,
If they built it to full capacity based on the acreages, it would give you 333.
I rounded up to 14 acres, so 336.
so that's our request. And I would appreciate a recommendation to the city council for approval. Thank you.
One question before you leave. So, part of your development is going to be on Pheasant Road where the single-family homes
Well,
are.
when
Is
the
that correct?
single-family home will be removed, and everything that's there will be oriented towards Salem Road. There will be no entrance off of Pheasant into this property.
So how many single-family homes are there?
3.
3, all of them are going to be removed?
No, just the one, there's just, correct, there's one,
Home right now that they,
there's one single-family home there now that we own that needs a whole lot of work, let's just say. So it would be removed. Everything that would be, new structures on that would be oriented towards Salem Road, not towards Pheasant.
that little house is vacant right now, isn't it? It's not, somebody lives there? College kids?
They'll live anywhere.
Right.
So, but yes, there's just one home that's on that site right now, but everything, once that's removed, would be, facing Salem Road. It would feel like a lot on Salem Road, not a lot on Pheasant.
Okay, any further questions for Mr. Salter? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody else to speak in favor? Mr. Salter Senior?
Yes, I'm Gene Salter, 2915 St. Charles, and I am the owner of the property, the original developer of Brentwood. What Brent has mentioned here is we did this project in 2001. There were a lot of structures not there. There were some structures that have even been built since. The big metal building that's on there was an industrial manufacturing area, which our hope is to either remove it or recondition it into some other type activity. One thing, Brentwood is a gated community, so when we expand into this for the second phase, it too will be gated access only. So our Salem Road access
Off
will
of
be
Salem.
gated on that. And like he said, on Salem Road, that will where we'll have our main offices, clubhouse, pool, the amenities that people are looking for now for projects. The numbers that you described there, yes, on the acreage, but also remember there is a 120-foot power line easement that goes right through this in a diagonal direction, so we wouldn't be able to ever get that many. But like you said, before we start spending a lot for development design, we need to know that this is what we have to work with. But physically, because the only thing we can do in the power line right-of-ways is for parking. So our structures have to be designed to fit around the two triangular pieces of property that we'll have left there. So,
I know you don't have a site plan, but do you know about how many acres the amenities will take up, the clubhouse and the pool? And
no, not at this
Not
time.
really.
Like I said, it depends on, what our, the physical design of what we do. Like you say, we don't know how much it's gonna take to be able to do it there. And, we'll have some parking for prospective tenants to come in. And also, this will allow us then to expand our management and our maintenance personnel on site. With only the 78 units, you can't do that. When we step it up to this, then we'll have full-time property management there, full-time maintenance people there. So once you get into that type of structure, that's what it allows us to be able to do then.
And the Brentwood, the existing Brentwood property does not have gated entrance from Dave Ward. Am I correct in that?
Nope. The upper townhouse units were kind of a second phase. The gate is at the second. Once you get over the hill, kind of going into it, right there is where the gate is. It goes into the original 56 units.
Gotcha, I missed that. Thank you.
So, and also then we have we own the daycare that is there, which we have at least now to management, which allows us really to offer a lot. Residents there, there's a daycare that adjoins our property. Actually, it's on our property, but it adjoins the Brentwood, and we're working with them for tentative expansion of some of that into this property. So trying to get it to where we have a full spectrum of amenities for our tenants there. So, and we would like to have it go that way, so then we can work, like he said, with the planning department for the development and approval of, all the proper setbacks and alignments that are required. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Is there anybody else to speak in favor?
Hey, I'm Jordan Broadstreet, 201 Leandrew Lane. I am property manager over at the Brentwood Apartments. So I just kind of wanted to read off of what Brent and Gene said. So right now, you're probably familiar with our Centerstone complex. It's closer to UCA. It does attract more of the college student environment. That's not what Brentwood is. So right now, Brentwood is about 50% families out of those 79 units that are there now. So that's the kind of the environment that we're going to try to attract again. So Also, a lot of those families that are there right now are using that daycare that are on the site. So that's what we are trying to make sure that we, keep intact. This will be traditional housing. It will not be student housing that you rent per room. Nothing like that. So, yeah, it will be traditional housing. So,
Okay, thank you. Anybody else to speak in favor? Okay, is there anybody that would like to speak in opposition to this request? The first person has 10 minutes and each subsequent person has 2. So figure out who you want to do most of the talking.
My name is Henry Zimrebner. I live on 2990 Pheasant Road. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and my wife Maureen. We moved to Homestead Acres, as it's called, in 1992, and we're here again, faced with the growing pains, and I understand that. Just want to say we're opposed to rezoning the following properties: 2902 Pheasant Road, 2955 Dave Ward Drive, and 905/945 Salem Road. Some of the reasons that we're looking at that we think this is going to impact our quality of life. We feel like the property values will suffer. Our long-standing drainage issues will increase drastically. No flooding issues, but we do have draining issues. The loss of privacy, loss of green space, light pollution, noise pollution, significant traffic burden, and y'all estimated that as 1,850 trips per day. Possible increase in crime and a transient population. The comprehensive plan determined that the property at 2902 Pheasant Road would be appropriately considered single-family, consistent with our neighborhood, Homestead Acres, which was established prior to 1976. The comprehensive plan also shows, and this has been pointed out already, that the portion south of the power line easement appropriately designated as single-family as well. The tract of land along Salem Road, 905 and 945, or 905/945 was rezoned to MF1 many years ago. And we attended those rezoning meetings also. It was rezoned to MF1 in spite of our opposition then. And if I remember correctly, the Planning Commission was opposed to it then, that Planning Commission was. But the City Council went ahead and rezoned it to MF1. Now, a little history, if I may. When we moved to 2990 Pheasant Road, there was no Salem Road that connected that stretch. The house on the end was at 2902. That was the end of Salem, and that was a completely wooded area, all to the north there. And then one day, a bulldozer came, knocked it all down, and before long, it became a dirt road and consequently a road. And the property owner at that time then donated the right-of-way to the city. The property owner at that time also owned that section that was zoned MF1. I don't know if that had anything to do with anything there. The original request was for that area to be zoned MF3. And it was inappropriate then, and we feel it remains inappropriate. Roughly calculated, MF3 zoning has the potential for approximately 333 units, as per your report. And if each unit had 2 bedrooms, potentially housing 4 people, full capacity could be somewhere between around 1,332 or more. So, that's a lot of people in a small area, and it is only asking for problems. And that's my opinion. We'd ask you to consider the impact on our small neighborhood, and while we're aware of growth, it's inevitable, and we chose this area for its country charm and while it was still being in the city.
Thank you for your
Thank you, Mr.
consideration.
Zimmer Abner.
That's my brother. His name's Casper Zimmer Abner. And I own 2950 Pheasant Road.
What's your name, sir?
Casper
Casper?
Zimmer Abner.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the ghost, go ahead.
Not many
Okay.
people here would remember that.
When he bought that property in 1992, I was home on Christmas vacation from the Navy. So I bought the property next to him because of the way it was. It's always been that way. Nice, quiet neighborhood. Well, when you're in the Navy, you're kind of in close quarters all the time. So that's why it's 2.5 acres. So I'm really animate about that property next to me at 2902 staying R1. Okay, for that reason. That's been like that since 75. We believe it should be that way for the rest of our lives. After that, we ain't got nothing to say about it. But in my opinion, taking that property and make it into MF3, because that's what it's going to be, okay? It's like going to the houses next to us, cutting them all down and putting MF3 right in the middle of a housing development. So I think MF1 is appropriate, in my opinion, especially along our residential areas. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else to speak in opposition?
I'm Bill Matchin. I live 2988 Antelope Road, which
Sorry,
is in
sir,
the
what
same
was your last
subdivision.
name?
What?
Your last name?
Matchett,
Matchett, okay.
M-A-T-C-H-E-T-T. We bought in there and built in 1976.
Yes, sir.
So we've been with it for the long ride. My mother owns 11 acres in the center section. It's divided into 3 sections. And we are next to the one that you are talking about on Pheasant Road. She owns all of one side of Pheasant Road. And what we're looking at is that really our only problem is zoning that 2-acre lot that is on Pheasant Road. That is the sticking point, because that is part of Homestead Acres subdivision. It was sold to all of us as a housing subdivision. And houses were built there accordingly. We built there. I've got a cousin that lives on that street too. They live on Antelope Road. I don't know, it seems like we're all kin to each other over there. But anyway, it's for that reason. And to hear them talk about an amenities building almost fringes on sounding commercial. Now, I know that people are going to live in the apartments next door, but we're going to build swimming pools and all these other amenities building, they call it. You may not be able to join or go pay a daily fee, but still, that sounds like it's a commercial aspect, not a residence for somebody to live in. So how far are you going to stretch MF3? The other, I can see that. We have apartment houses in the future, and they've planned the streets and all. Unfortunately, that is behind the Zimmer Abner's place over there. That does fringe on their property too. But to actually go into the subdivision is my problem, and take that one lot out and rezone it as MF3.
Thank you, sir. We're actually at time. I do have a question for you, though.
Yes.
So don't go far. If there is a condition put on the approval.
Off of this, yeah.
No worries. If we put a condition on if we approve this request, that section does become a clubhouse or an amenity area, a non-living, however you would word it, making sure that that is not an actual residential property, that it can be ancillary buildings, et cetera. You're telling me that you would still have issue with that?
Yes. I think it was sold as a housing development. We all bought it into it as a housing development. It was in the county at the time that it was established, so it may not have all the bylaws and written materials that are necessary in the city at this time. But then it was originally started in 72, I believe, was the original beginning date when my brother-in-law built his house in there.
But even if the entrance to
right now, the entrance is on Salem.
Right, and if the entrance continues to be on Salem and there is no entrance into that portion of the property from Pheasant,
right,
you would still have issue with that portion?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so it's more of,
I mean, the house
The
on it,
trips
I
per
agree that the
day.
house on it, but the house on it was built on site at Conway High School.
Right.
So it was a build-in and move-in. It was more of a shop than a house.
Yeah.
But they had enough stuff to it to turn it into a house
sure.
on site. But,
Thank you, sir.
yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
And we can't do much about that anyway, because they could have changed, or, remember, we tried to do that before.
My point was, if there are none, then we can't really say what we could do.
Okay. All right, is there anybody else to speak in opposition? Seeing none, we'll bring this back into the commission.
It's a lot to unwind.
It is.
It's a lot to unwind.
Well, and I'm concerned about some of the things that the planning department mentioned in the report before you had this revised plan, such as the paragraph about fire access.
Well, they'll
So
have to-
Brian, will you come up and talk about the
Please.
entrance and the egress from Dave Ward Drive? Because I think that's going to be a big point of contention for most of us.
Let me get my map going here.
This is the one I was talking about right
Yeah, and then they have to be consolidated.
So you're concerned about the skinny strip of land, I guess you could say?
Yeah, that whole
To Dave Ward
paragraph
Drive.
about the consolidation of the driveways and the fire access, et
Right.
cetera.
Well, of course, that was all written before Brent shared the thing you have before you.
Right.
But, so I get my numbers right. A multifamily complex with over 200 units requires 3 fire access drives. And if you sprinkle it, I believe you can get by with less than that, maybe? Y'all thinking sprinklers, or?
It'll have to be sprinkled.
So-
Just like it would have to be approved by the fire department.
Right, right. I mean, all that's gonna come out through the development review process. I mean, right now, we're basically looking at just the land use issue of this thing, whether it's an appropriate use of the land or not. But, there might be means of access through the existing, apartment complex that may or may not need the skinny strip of land. I mean, it seems to be about the only good use for the little skinny strip of land, I guess you could say, to the north, is to put some type of access through there. But possibly, as they get into the design process, that may not be necessary if you can get an access through the existing Brentwood apartments. So does that answer the question, or?
Wendy?
It's, so the skinny strip of land he's talking about is
Where the building is.
almost connected to, yeah, that daycare.
This-
Okay, I thought you were talking about this one right here.
No, so it's, if you look on the,
Gideon right here.
So he's not
it's
on
that
this end, but this
little blue strip coming off of Dave Ward Drive on the original map.
That's where they'll put the street to come down.
That skinny strip that you're talking about is this one here next to Mr. Covington's building.
Right.
And he and I have already been talking. He
Flip it
has no
around and
access
point
without this strip. So he and I are gonna come to an agreement to where he can utilize this to get to his building. So as far as widening this to make it another entrance into this,
Right.
that may
I mean,
not even
It would be
happen.
wide enough, I believe it's, what, it's 20, so I mean, all you have to have is, for a fire access lane, is 20-foot wide, curb to curb, open, no parking, at least 20 feet for them clear to get through is all they're required. So it's adequate enough to get a fire access through there if necessary.
Just put that right there in the corner. He wants to pop there.
So if I think of, if I think of a nightmare scenario, worst possible case, there's 333 units that are fully populated. I'm going down Dave Ward Drive, and as always is, Dave Ward Drive is hectic. Everybody who lives in this Brentwood Phase 2 doesn't want to stop at that red light because it's backed up, so they start going through Phase 1 property. You're causing a lot of excess traffic stopping and turning off. You're creating heavier traffic in those curb cuts that are already there. So it's still a point of contention for me.
I didn't think there,
Because he's saying that
oh, I see.
that connecting to existing here,
Right.
they could move from phase one through that road that'll be created by that dumpster into phase two. If they didn't want to wait for that light or go through the, whatever that road is. Whatever that is.
Excuse me, but also on that, the outlet also out of the complex is onto Donald Ridge Road also.
Donnell Ridge, that was the
So you've
road.
got, that will give you, there are two ingress egress on Dave Ward and one on Donald Ridge. So what is there at this current time? And this other one was more or less a private access to the industrial building, and it is a 35-foot easement that, you know, we had no intention of trying to improve as a main drive. But it would stay there because of Mr. Covington's property there, and also, back when I built this in 201, there's a 10-inch water main that's over there too that will always be there. Because we had to do improvements and bring water and sewer up into that area to begin with.
So if we get past traffic on Dave Ward Drive, then we have the other issues of the properties down here at Pheasant Road.
It seems to me, from what I'm gathering, you're okay with multifamily except for the Pheasant Road.
Well,
No?
we're not really okay with multifamily,
Well-
but we have to live with it.
Right, that's what I'm getting at. You're not okay with it, but you understand that it's,
Also residential part a long time
Yeah.
ago,
To the facility too.
to the city council. And a 4-3 vote, with the mayor deciding to vote. It really sticks in my craw. Really pisses me off.
Right.
Already resolved, they just don't want to.
I think it's something in that.
Right.
I know. Okay, this is back in the commission. Let's keep it between us right now. But from what I can understand out of what was said earlier, the biggest point of contention is the Pheasant Road property.
Can that be multifamily through with that being a amenities clubhouse?
Well, this is the Pheasant Road
Yeah,
property
so
right
they're-
here.
but they're trying
And they're
to-
proposing that that's where the clubhouse or pool or whatever be. But my issue would be is if the clubhouse is right here and the pool's over here, are they gonna have parties in there? How late is it gonna go? It's, you know, how noisy is it gonna be for these
Multifamily
residents?
3 though, even if there's not a multifamily there, it's a clubhouse instead. You know what I mean?
If we, yeah. What, the
The
thing
answer's
is.
yeah on that. I mean,
What?
if the clubhouse and all that is part of the function of the
That's what I was
multifamily
wondering.
apartments, complex, whatever, it all has to be one unit.
Okay.
And I'll remind too, because this is, I mean, one thing about getting a rezoning is you can have a site plan and y'all could show it and think it's great and all that, but this is a straight up or straight down, basically. It's multifamily, either you're going for it or you're not. I mean, there will definitely be some oversight through the development review process and lighting, buffering, fencing,
But once we zone it,
all the
it's
stuff
there.
that we normally look at, but as far as location, we probably won't specify the clubhouse has to be here, because there's
Right.
no grounds for that in our development review process.
Yeah, I'm just
And-
taking what they're saying is,
Right, so basically, I'm
it's
just saying
gonna
you can't put conditions on it. It's a
Right.
multifamily, either straight up or straight down.
right. And that's what I'm
Now, you
saying. They're
can-
saying that that's where it's gonna
you
be,
can-
but even if that's so and it's not apartments, you know, you still got
You still cut off
something
half of
noisy
it,
right
yeah.
next to all the residential.
I got you.
Now, one thing you can do with this is you can say you don't want the Pheasant Road lot to be part of this request. You can limit the size, you can't add to it, and you also can't put conditions on it, but you can take parts of it
Take
out
that
if you
part
want
out.
to. So anyway, that's kind of the rules of the game we're at, so that's what you can or can't do.
Are there no covenants for this neighborhood?
I don't know. I sent y'all.
The covenants for, I thought it was in the county when you did it.
Yes, it was.
Right. Typically, in the past, we haven't really, taken those into consideration because we don't have any way of knowing if they've changed over the years or if, you know, something's happened. So we tend to not take those into
That's where
consideration.
we-
We really, I mean, it's obvious this is a residential area, so.
Yeah, I just wondered if they had any, they were keeping up with them.
I have a question. Brian, you said that we could, we could approve the request, but take out like that lot that's on Pheasant Road.
Yeah, I mean, you can further reduce the legal description or the described property, take a piece out, whatever, but you can't add to it. So yes, you can further limit it if you want to.
Well, my concern is the property, maintaining the integrity of the property on Pheasant Road, those single-family homes. And if that would be a way to do it, I don't know if the developer would be willing to do that or not, but that would be the only way that I could vote for this rezoning.
So if that's the case, then somebody is gonna need to make a motion for MF3 for all but the Pheasant Road
Well,
property.
I'd like to know if before we do that, if the developer is even willing to consider that. Yes.
I mean,
Brent?
go ahead, Brent.
I apologize. If I overheard this gentleman earlier correctly, he said that if the pheasant house was MF1, that they would be okay with it. And to reduce that piece to MF1, I'd be okay with it.
But that's, we have to do it based on what's before us right now.
Well, if she was gonna make a motion to restrict that.
I wanted to know if that was.
Can we do that? Because what's before us is MF3.
Further clarify that too. Yeah, that's another thing you can do. In the past, our city attorney has allowed, as long as you stay within the same family of zoning, you could,
We
it's
could
a
do
little tricky, but
MF1
yes,
on
you could
portion.
redo, if you wanted to make that pheasant one, you could take it out of the picture, say we're not zoning it at all, it's gonna remain R1. Or you could say it could be MF2 or MF1. You could reduce
Step down.
the density basically of it, as long as, you can't go to commercial, you can't go to, industrial, but as long as you stay with the multifamily, you can change the hierarchy of what you're doing there. So that is another option. You could make that the MF1 if you want to, or you could just say, yeah, it's gonna be R1 and that's that. So
Okay.
however y'all wanna handle that.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, I think that, taking that part out, I mean, behind those people's houses, there's a pretty good distance there that, with the site review, like what we did with Hal, where we made him put the fence
The
in
fences
on
and all that.
facing the right
But
side.
they don't have to come
and
back to us with a site review.
That'll all come back to us.
No, it won't.
Well, it'll go through, Brian's.
For them.
Yeah, their
But
site
they won't
review.
make, I mean, they can't make them put fences up or any of that stuff.
Well, anyway, my point is, I mean, I used to dove hunt where I now play golf and has apartments all over it and $1 million houses all over it. I mean, Conway's growing. We're not 1992 anymore, and traffic is gonna be a problem and keep being a problem. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. Conway, I'm not sure I would live in Conway if it was still like it was in 1992, to be honest with you. But anyway, I wanna do what we can to help these people and do right, but, I mean, there's Section 8 housing right there on the corner. There's, a whole commercial buildings right around there. There's already apartments there, and houses that have been built after those apartments were there, right around it. Those people don't seem to have a problem. You can't just limit the whole use of 14 acres over, 3 individual houses. I just don't feel like, I mean, I don't want to put these people in a terrible spot, but, that's just what growth happens sometimes. So, if y'all want to take that little sliver out, then fine, but, I mean, there's not a better spot in Conway right now for multifamily. I mean, it's at the corner of Dave Ward and Salem, the heart of the city where multifamily needs to be. It's right close to UCA, to all the restaurants and hospitals and all that sort of stuff. So this makes more sense to me than the one that's 5 miles past it, where, by the way, they're putting in a whole new subdivision right across the street from that. They don't seem to care that there's 1,500 apartments out there. House developing Salem Woods right across the street.
But
So
Brian, it sounds like he's in agreement with you, you are almost in agreement with the house staying, right? Is that what we heard?
No.
Okay. Well, he's- I'm saying on that property. Yeah, that one property, the house that he was gonna remove.
he's still gonna have to Go
I
ahead.
thought that's what he just said.
Well, yeah, where the house is, he can keep that R1, just the house.
What I was saying is that I believe when the gentleman was speaking, he said if that pheasant property was MF1, that would be fine. I'm saying that pheasant piece of property, I'm fine with it being MF1.
Okay.
So we can take just the 2902 pheasant and make it MF1 with the rest of it MF3. But if that's MF1, they can still put the clubhouse there, right? Okay.
I don't think that's what the residents were saying.
I know they weren't saying
What,
that,
ma'am?
but we're talking about what we're gonna do.
Okay, we need a motion from somebody. I'm sorry, sir, the public comment section is over. We need somebody to step up and figure out what they want to do.
Well, I'm not sure how to word it. So I make a motion to approve with the exception that we leave the Pheasant Road lot, property, house. How do I need to word that, Brian?
That we leave it up.
Homestead acres, is that? Yes. 29 lot.
Yeah, that lot number, as, MF1.
Okay, it's R1 right now.
I mean, as R1, as R1. Is
You
that
want
what
to
you're
leave it as R1 and not MF1?
So I have a
Right.
question
And
about
do
that.
the rest of it
I have a
in
question.
M3.
Is that just this part right here, or is
Right.
that all of this across here?
No, it's just that, where that house is.
So he's saying just this versus all of this?
No, he's saying that whole
So this whole-
2.5
This is-
acre.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a whole lot right there.
Okay, okay.
Just like these are.
Basically removing it from the other description, it would remain as is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is that what you're
correct.
saying, Brian?
I thought it was just that little corner where that house is, that.
No, it's this whole lot right here.
Does-
That's all encompassed in 2902 Pheasant.
So it goes all the way to the back of their
Right.
property line where their single-family houses.
It will essentially lop that whole thing off right there.
What is MF? I mean, you can always come back later and do like an MF1 there or something.
Or, we can do MF1 there now.
That's what I was thinking, was do
I
MF1
mean,
there.
What does
That's-
that get them exactly? I mean, if we're trying to, if,
It's within our purview to do that if we
less
need to.
density.
MF1 allows 12 units per acre.
but if they're worried about if the worry for them is the amenity building going there, and we're trying to alleviate that, we're not doing that by making it.
No,
MF1,
we're
right? We
not
can leave
doing
it
that.
MF3.
They can
Correct.
still have that there.
So if we're trying to alleviate that, making the MF1 is not going to alleviate that. It's just whatever. So if the goal is to alleviate it, then we should leave it R1. If the goal is to not, then we can leave it MF3 and go on with it, right?
Fact.
In a nutshell, right?
Correct.
Okay.
They're
That's-
both
yeah, you're exactly
satisfied
right.
being R1. Both are in agreement that it's.
No,
they're-
Brent's not in agreement with that.
R1 or
With that
MF1?
2902 staying
MF1,
R1.
okay, MF1,
He wants
okay.
it MF1.
Yeah,
So-
okay.
Basically, you're talking about 2902 Pheasant Road, the lot, and it's a little over 2 acres, right at 2 acres. So either you could make it MF1.
Yes.
Leave it at
or you
R1.
could just cut it out and make it R1, that's.
I'm gonna,
Okay,
I
so if
propose
we-
MF1, that way they can put less density there and
Well,
something that
they
kind
can
of
still
fits
put the amenities building that
They can
they,
put the amenities building on that end to where,
which is one of the things that they had a problem with. So
point, let's leave it
if we
MF3.
did that,
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
we would have to trust you guys to put up a really nice fence.
8-foot and a 2-story building, that's really.
Well, the
Yeah.
clubhouse likely wouldn't be too
Guys, I
short.
have to agree with Arthur. If we're gonna make it MF1, why not just make it MF3?
And just
What
leave
are
it the
we,
way it
what are we
is.
doing for these property
We're
owners?
not doing anything,
So then
because that's where the,
Well,
I
other than he can't put,
mean, he won't be
apartments
able to
down
put
there.
apartments there, like,
can put
you know,
duplexes there.
he can put,
Well,
I
it's
mean-
not really laid out yet, so you don't know.
The
12.
MF1 allows 12 per
12.
acre, so he'd be able to put 24 in that lot versus the 48 he would be able to put in that lot for MF3.
I don't know if that's really helping them.
well,
Right now,
it's
he
not,
could-
but
he
the
could change
Salters
the
are
layout.
talking about
We don't
putting the
know,
amenities
you know?
thing there, which they don't want that either, but, I mean, so we just need to decide whether it's gonna stay R1 or if somebody's gonna make it whatever. We just need to, I just need a motion. We can vote it up or down.
if y'all don't wanna make it MF1, I would say make it MF3. I mean, I don't have a problem with that being MF3, to be honest with you. I don't. I mean, it's gonna have to go through site review stuff.
I do, I have
So-
no problem with it being MF3.
Well, then we'll vote and see what happens. I mean, I
Okay.
don't know what else to do, but
So Brian, there's a motion on the floor for approval of MF3, right? For the whole thing. Is that correct?
yeah, I'll change mine, just approve it, MF3.
For MF3. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, so Brandon's got the second. All those in favor, and let's raise our hands. All those in favor?
Aye.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor, all opposed? 1, 2, 3. I'll cast the deciding vote in favor. It passes 6-3.
So, hey,
They're not very happy, and I don't.
sorry, I misunderstood your vote. So you voted yes?
Yes.
Okay,
I voted
sorry.
To,
I was gonna
the
vote
motion.
to leave it R1.
I would have voted to leave it R1 too.
It's, I mean, there's not a better place in the world to put MF3.
I mean, I understand their,
I mean, their house, they've got a lot of room in between there and the back.
I
I mean,
hope the
those are
Salters will
big
step up
lots.
and put big.
Madam Chairwoman, seeing as there are no further business, I make a recommendation that we adjourn.
Beth, what do you need? You need to know who voted for it.
Okay, all right, everybody who voted for, raise your hand.
Yeah.
What was that?
Everyone who
voted
voted for.
Beth needed
So
to get the
Beth needs
count.
it for,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't go through the names. That's okay.
Okay. Okay, now I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
But before y'all leave, you have to see my sweet baby when he graduated. He's graduating high school. Isn't that great? Isn't that not, and he hadn't changed a bit. Still looks just like that.
Stone is a beautiful place. Those have granite countertops. Those are nice apartments.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just
Everybody
hope
has
that they
problem
put
with
a
this sort of
really
stuff.
big fence. If
Once
they're
it's
gonna put that
done and
amenities building
everything.
there, so all the noise and stuff is reduced. But we can't, I mean, like, I'm just saying, if people have
But it's
parties
still gotta go
in
through
that,
site plan
in
review.
that,
So it's still gotta meet all
clubhouse or
those
whatever.
codes and all that sort of stuff.
well, no, I'm talking about in the clubhouse. You can reserve the clubhouse
They're not
for,
gonna put the amenities building down here in this corner, right?
you know, things.
I wanted to go there and say, ma'am, I'm
And then
sorry,
once